welcome to the special 100th edition of the Sportsline podcast across our CHCH social media platforms. I'm Bubba O'Neill. First off, thank you so very much for making us a regular part of your day, and a double thanks for all the positive and negative feedback, because it educates us, it motivates us in so many ways. So if you do like what you are seeing, let us know in the comments section. Like, subscribe, and share. You know, when my bosses asked me to do a podcast in the late months of 2023, I kind of had my doubts, but 100 episodes later, I stand corrected. Truth be told, during my sports segment on CHCH News, I have about 6 or 7 minutes to condense as much local, regional, and international sports to keep you all up to date. Now, on the Sportsline podcast, I'm afforded the opportunity to dig a little deeper, learn about the successes, failures, and feelings of our guest. So far, I've talked to athletes, retired athletes, executives, entrepreneurs, broadcasters, and folks I consider to be local heroes. What we've done is highlight a number of moments that made you and I feel something. I'll start with folks that, for their own different reasons, I consider legends.
I really wanted to get into the Hamilton-Toronto market, and Hamilton was there. The opportunity was there, and Dick Gray hired me. And I mean, when you're with a station and on air for 32 years, you get to know people, and you're so involved with the community. The other thing, I was the first news anchor to have a baby, and my pregnancy was partly shared with the viewers for those 9 months. And it really developed a strong rapport.
Lo and behold, going back, my first game was a CYO game, and Tom Gallagher paid me 75 cents and said, "We want change because you're rotten." Once again, adversity. Adversity to opportunity. He was right. I was rotten. And I decided that I'm not the smartest guy on the planet or in the neighborhood, but I can be the hardest working guy. That's the secret. You don't have to be the smartest guy in the neighborhood. You have to be the hardest working guy. And I worked hard.
We work in the toy department. We do scores and highlights, and we watch athletes, great athletes for great moments. And I can say that, you know, some 40 years later and more, I'm still doing it, and I still love it, and it doesn't feel like I've worked a day. You know, I've always said I do it for free. I don't tell anybody that.
But it's true, though.
But, you know, I'm a freelancer now, but I keep saying I'm not free. But it's true, and there's nothing like it. There's nothing like the purity of sport. Nothing like it, and I'm just so glad that that sliding door took me from potential playing basketball in college or in hockey to becoming a broadcaster.
We'll end on this, Donovan. I'm really upset at myself. I have it sitting on my buffet, a little card about this size right now with you after you winning the 100 meter, and you signed it to me saying, "Follow your dreams." I will never forget that. That sits on my buffet. That will never leave. So thank you for all you've done. Thank you for joining us here on podcast number 1 here on Sportsline. And I'll say this for many of the people that I know that, you know, we're all of the same age group, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun following your career, and thanks for giving back as well, too. And thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you. And I will reiterate what I wrote on that card. I want you to follow your dreams, and I want every single one of our audience members to understand that. You got to put the work in, but you definitely should follow your dreams.
Thanks to the worldwide and, of course, Canadian track star Donovan Bailey, as he was the Sportsline guest number 1. And based on his career, he always finished first. Now, if I've learned anything since starting to do this podcast on January 24th, this region, this province, and this country are filled with women who have visions, women who have dreams, and women who are just getting the job done.
It's very intimidating. You just, 25-year-old me walking into the clubhouse.
For sure.
There was definitely moments, and you just have to pretend like you're not scared and not nervous.
But you build a thick skin, though.
For sure you do. You have to. You have to, or you won't last long. And you have to be willing to put yourself out there. And, like, I can be a shy person, sometimes my first inclination is kind of like, a little shy. But in those situations, you cannot be, and you just have to push through it and pretend that you're not, and pretend that you're not nervous, and and then it becomes easier the more you do it. Kind of fake it till you make it, right? But yeah, there were definitely moments, and I mean now it's so different. It's like you said, TSN has more female anchors and reporters than men, and it's really cool to see.
We're so lucky to be a part of it. We're very grateful. But like you mentioned, the timing is now. The timing is right. We have earned this. A lot of women's sports have earned this opportunity. Now it's about going out there, performing, seeing how much we can raise the bar, not only as players, but in terms of investment and fan engagement, and continue to make this thing grow.
I think my favorite part is like turning on the TV and actually watching other teams play and being a fan yourself. And like, it's so much more professional than it ever has been. And it's so cool to be a fan in that way, and to know that like other people are watching it just as I am, and how popular it is.
I've watched this league grow year after year with major contributions from women at every level. Their hard work and ideas motivate me every day, and I'm proud to work alongside them. I'm proud to say that I work with like any woman in the league, with whether it's my team, a different team, the league. They're all role models. They're all successful. They're all professional, and they do really contribute to the success of the league.
And the biggest draw for me with rugby was always is the laws are the exact same for men and women. Whereas you get hockey, like I grew up playing hockey, and I spent half my time in the box for either checking or fighting, and boys, that's allowed, but I'm a woman and I'm playing other women. Why can't I do that? Rugby, I have the exact same capability as you, physicality. I'm playing against other people my size, bigger and smaller. Why can't I have the exact same rules? And in rugby, you do.
And it would be great to have a high school team. I kind of started a rugby club at my school. I go to Bishop Tonus Secondary School.
You started clubs?
Yeah.
Entrepreneur!
I started a club because I think rugby is a great sport, and I think it's such a confidence booster in young women. And I think more young women should see what a beautiful sport it is. And so I introduced it to a teacher up at my school, and me and my best friend started a little rugby club together where we taught some other girls the basics.
There's a lot of men and boys in this space, and I'm like, I want to be playing out on the field with them. Why can't I? And I love flag because it helps bring in all the elements of all my sport backgrounds that I had previously in volleyball and track and in all other sports. And I think that's just had me hooked, and I've just been addicted to it since, and the community that it brings. And some of my best friends have come out of this space, and I couldn't be more appreciative of how the sport has made me become the individual I am today, and the people that surround me in it.
So I've been pretty fortunate in having some really great male mentors and role models in this space that have seen, that I have value and that I have something that I can contribute. So I'm really fortunate in that sense. I know it hasn't been the case for everyone, which is why I'm trying to now, in my leadership position with Football Ontario, open those doors for other women who maybe didn't have that same experience.
But I thought, nobody's going to buy me as the host. They're going to think, what is she doing down there? Like, I had all of this self-doubt and thinking that I would be judged. So anyways, I had said no, and then maybe a week or so later, I told a few people about it, and they were all like, are you nuts? You said no, what? And thank goodness they reached back out and said, are you sure? Like, we think you would be a really great fit, and maybe if you just want to come down and we can chat more. And right away I said, yes, I want to do it. Oh my gosh, thank you for calling me back. So it's a little lesson though that I've used in lots of other ways in my life, though, is that instead of worrying about what other people think, I could have let something like this go and imagine the other path that things could have taken. I would never be where I am now, or have had all these incredible experiences and opportunities had I been so worried about what other people would have thought of me.
I find it interesting that each one of them, and Darnell and Kia, point to you as the one, the bricklayer that started it all. And I guess in some ways, I mean, you're the oldest in that sense, but you wouldn't know it. But like,
no, thank you.
But really, you really did lay down some tracks.
It's really like humbling to hear them both kind of say that. I don't feel that way all the time. I feel like my dad reminds me that everything he screwed up with me, he fixed with them. So I feel like I was a trailblazer or a project, maybe. I was a test. But I do appreciate that from both of them. I think I was older than them, so being able to kind of see what it looked like to play sports at a high level gave them something, I think, to try to achieve and beat. I think that is the mantra that my dad and my mom always kind of instilled, like, see greatness and then try to be better.
Seriously, how could we not have one of the nurse ladies on the podcast? And really, Tamika is someone special. Folks, at times we've shared moments of extreme emotion on the Sportsline podcast, whether it be social issues, mental health, the importance of family, or the death of a loved one. Our guests have spoken and we've listened. You're doing the biggest tournaments in the world, in the Grand Slams, the majors, and we talked about you having a family, and unfortunately, you have a family tragedy.
Yeah.
And you unfortunately lose your wife.
Yeah.
You've got 3 kids.
Yeah.
You're traveling the world. Can you talk to me a little bit what that's been like?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, I don't dwell on it too much. I mean, this is really the first time I've talked about it at any length. It's not easy when your kids are younger. They're older now, which is, you know, my oldest is 16. I got one almost 14, and my daughter who's 12. And it's tough. You know, it's not easy to juggle so many different hats. I guess that's the hardest part, because first you have to be dad first, and then everything else is second.
Most people that say I'm having a great day, and the people that try to make you laugh in rooms, are often the people that are struggling the most. You know, Robin Williams comes to mind. There's a lot, and I used to be the clown, you know, the class clown, trying to make people laugh, because that's how I dealt with my mom, and I would try to cheer her up and try to make her laugh. And you know, in the newsroom, you know, I was a big clown and a big joker. But I have my bad days, and we all have our bad days, and I just try my best not to let them snowball. But you're right, we do have to be able to talk and have these open conversations.
My dad passed away 9 days after my 13th birthday. I became a teenager, and then I became a man 9 days later. It was my job to take over the family home. My mom obviously was a great mom and all that kind of stuff, but, you know, figuratively, I was the man of the house. And, you know, I say when you lose a parent at a young age, you spend the rest of your life seeking approval from someone that you're never going to get it from. You just have this idea of approval from above, but it makes you an extremely hard worker, because good enough is not good enough, because I'm carrying not only my story and my journey, but I the respect in the story of my father and my grandfather and the great men that came before me, and the great entertainers they were. So it's a pressure, but it's also a relief. I feel like I'm chasing footsteps.
Next thing you know, I sitting here, and my right leg turned in, my right arm turned in. I was completely paralyzed, and I fell into the ground. And I was trying to push myself up, pushing myself.
You're all by yourself.
All by myself. There's nobody there. I'll fast forward 2 seconds with you. The doctors told me that this was one of those where it was like 90. It was a massive stroke. They told me 90 minutes I was brain dead. I would have been dead. Like, not even considered a vegetable. You're dead. And I remember making peace with God. And I said, God, if this is my time, thank you so much. I've had a beautiful life. Please just take care of my wife and my daughter.
Oh. Yeah. Oh. Whoa. You're the only guy.
Yeah, everybody's going to see my other side. That gets emotional. That's why I breathe right there. That's the team. That's the family. That's what I've been blessed with. Mm-hmm. That I was able to be inducted because of them, mm-hmm. and the support. So that's packed with a lot. That's probably a half-hour show. Mm-hmm. So that's a special time. I looked at that. That's reflection.
The social media and the bullying, the online bullying, and I saw more and more kids facing anxiety issues, more and more mental health issues, more and more anxiety attacks. I had kids that would call me by name. they would call me on the PA, you know, they need Mr. Riley to deal with this, because I had dealt with them multiple times. And then they would also call other teachers for other kids, obviously, right? But there was a few kids that knew me by name, and they would call for me, because then I got to the point where I could comfort them and bring their anxiety down.
There's something here. Like, Rob and I can't just sail into the sunset without you guys realizing we don't want to. No, the decision is the decision.
And I think this entire city knew that. What? Like, there's no way you're cutting our guys.
It was, and to go as a package was even worse. Like, just get rid of me if you don't want me or whatever, or just get rid of Rob. But to put us together, and it's kind of in one way, it's linked us together ever since, right? In a good way. But it took me a while. It took me a good 3 or 4 years to like even want to know what was happening. And because you get in sport, you know, you always think you got another play left in you, and sometimes you don't. In this case, we thought we did, and when it gets ripped out away, it's tough. But Ronnie Lancaster told us from day one, you make them rip that jersey off the back. You never go out on your own. You make sure they rip that jersey off your back. That's the only way to leave. So in some respects, that just galvanized the next stage of my life.
Life is full of challenges, and I'd like to personally thank our guests for sharing the ups and downs of their lives. Now, although I don't care where you come from, the primary reason for this podcast is to speak to the many people that make the Hamilton community so great. Many of those folks are media members, just like myself, and they all have something to say.
I don't remember anybody calling up Netflix and saying, why am I paying for Netflix? I should be allowed to stream it for free. I don't remember anybody going to the steakhouse and saying, yeah, thanks for my meal, but eating is a human right. I should be able to eat for free. It's a business. The problem is not that journalism is dead. It's that a lot of people have decided that they don't want to pay for it, and that ultimately won't kill it, but will seriously weaken it over time.
Sometimes the best ideas just kind of come to you. And after one particular Leafs game, this was a Leafs playoff loss, I thought, you know what, I have to express my emotion in a different way. And that way was to basically launch the, blank fans going into work today. And as you can tell by some of the reactions, it's either irate or sad or very happy. And so I'm glad that people have kind of caught on to it. It is a lot of fun to do. And sometimes, and these are spontaneous. This isn't me just planning. It's, me kind of driving into work thinking, what am I going to do today? How am I going to react to what happened the day before or the weekend before? And it's been a lot of fun.
Remember writing about it when Ivor Wynn closed, and Tim Hortons Field has since replaced it as this. That is this city's town square. That a Ticat game particularly is metaphorically the town square of this town. You want to know something about this town? Go to a few Ticat games and listen and watch. You're going to learn a lot about this town.
Because I'm kind of really introverted and kind of shy, right? Like it's just, and so someone will stop me in a store and they'll start asking me questions, and then we start talking about the Bulldogs, right? And I think, okay, he knows me from the Bulldogs, right? And then my wife will say, "Who's that?" And I go, "I have no idea," right? But it's nice that people watch and stuff. It's new for me, all that stuff, and just recently over the last few years, because of the Bulldogs and stuff like that you get recognized. But it's not why I do it, of course, but it's kind of cool. It's nice to know that what you're doing is going out there in the community, people are watching it and appreciating it. That's pretty much it.
And I wanted to work for Steve Stais. That was a huge draw for me because he's one of my favorite players growing up. In fact, I talked about doing the school visits with the players. When I was a kid at A.M. Cunningham, just up the road here in Hamilton, he was the player that did my school visit. Wow. And I still have the hockey card that he signed for me that day. And that was when he was a Boston Bruin, which to me, a Boston Bruin from Hamilton, it doesn't get any better than that. It doesn't get any better than that.
I went up to Barrie and I asked one of the sports guys there, because that was my hometown, as you mentioned, and I said, what do I do to get into the business? He said, quit your job with that chartered accountant firm and just go knock on doors. So I made up that tape. I started knocking on doors. First door I went to, I sat down this thing. Sometimes it helps to be naive. I didn't know any better. I just wanted it badly, and I put the tape down, and they said, we'll be in touch. And the next day I was going to St. Thomas to apply for a job there in radio, and I got a call before I even got to the station there from the original station I went to in Cambridge, and they said, you're hired. So, I mean, it worked out, but I was very fortunate because I didn't know what I was doing.
It's just a product of passion. We loved it. And Saturdays, Friday nights was always game prep at home. Inevitably, I'd have been on a campus that week doing an interview with an athlete that would run as our halftime profile. That was the best part, going over to London, going over to Laurier, Guelph, getting to Mike, a coach, getting to talk to these athletes who love the attention, and why wouldn't they love the attention, right? We're putting them on the front of the marquee. It was tremendous, and some of the great games, especially basketball at the House of Slam up in Guelph, when Western was great, Guelph was great, Mac always great, and Brock, under Ken Murray. Some of those games were, and then inevitably it got so big they had to move them inside Copps Coliseum because they were getting 7,000, 8,000 fans for these games. I think television had a great deal to do with it, and I feel proud that we had a great deal to do with the passion we brought to it.
I do it because I'm a selfish guy. I do it because when we do all these things and our group do all these things, it makes me feel good. And that's the selfish part of it. And that's the truth. I can't flower it up. It makes your heart feel good when you have something that can bring awareness to something and help them raise money and be a part of your community. And when you host a national championship and you can get thousands of people to come to the community of Dundas and the Hamilton area, there's something wrong with you. It doesn't make you feel good.
After spending many years working in Toronto, I can tell you few do it better than the Hamilton media. And the hilarious thing is, many that work for those Toronto media outlets are from the Hammer. Let's end on this, folks. We all love people who can tell a good story, and I've been lucky on the Sportsline podcast to chat with many.
So, for me, sports is an escape from reality. And one night, Glenn Healy was trying to find the puck. And I said, oh, Glenn Healy fishing around trying to find the puck, looking more like Jeff. Not knowing at the time, Jeff Healy was a blind guitarist.
You didn't know that?
I had no idea. So now
you weren't up in your rock and roll?
Exactly. The only reason why I can sleep easy at nights is because I actually met Jeff and I gave him that story.
Right.
And he absolutely loved it.
Okay.
He found it to be the funniest thing. And he was just like, no, man, that's great. That's awesome. I said, oh, thank goodness. Because everybody said to me, how the heck are you going to make fun of a blind guy? And I'm like, I didn't know. I had no idea.
Football is mentally draining. Like all the games people play, like everything you give to the game, and then like football. Like I tell everybody like all the time, it's like dating a girl that you know that's gonna leave you, but you're just enjoying the time with her, right? So, but it's like so sad.
We've all been there at least once.
At least once, twice, three. I don't know what you're betting, but I don't know what you're betting, but like, I'm doing all right, man. I'm not. We're trying, but we're
the best. Just trying to be a good man.
That's it. You know what I mean? That's all that matters. We're doing our best, man.
News, sports, entertainment, whatever. What people hate the most these days is the truth. They hate the truth being told to them. They hate somebody holding them accountable for the things that go on and the things that happen. And with the shrinkage of mainstream media, there are fewer and fewer of those voices out there, fewer and fewer voices that are not connected in some way, shape, or form to any league or any franchise or any team, and who don't have their paychecks kind of tied to that. So when you have people who really dislike the truth, and the truth is said out loud, it bothers them.
I think I saw Foxcroft on the sidelines at the Bills game. Can you tell us what that was all about?
That's hilarious. So I've been doing the Bills chain crew for 31 years. And the move that I have down to a science, including the Sundays Kansas City game is this one. They interview the coaches usually at halftime, either before or after. So my move is always go right behind the coach while the interview's on, and then give it the like look, so sure enough, Sunday night, McDermott comes out, so I know what's happening. So I nailed my spot without even looking this time. And my brother Dave knows this is happening every 31 years, every game I do it. So Dave's at home filming it, because when I first started, there was no cell phones or anything like that. But now I got all these videos. Earlier, the Dallas game, Aaron Andrews doing the pregame kickoff. Well, who's behind? Look for the guy in the red vest.
I turned around, I'm like, where do we got to go? And he put his hands on my shoulders and was just like, stop. Your boxers are just basically blowing in the wind. Like the seat of your pants is just ripped open. And he goes, just stick with me the whole time. And I was like, that would have been fine in a mass of people. No one would have noticed. But then we were going to have an interview with Jimmy Johnson. And that interview happened to be not in Victory Lane, but in the media center, which was like several football field lengths away. So all of a sudden, I'm walking around the infield of Daytona International Speedway with my boxers just blowing up the back of my pants. And I remember then walking to the media center, and God bless Dean Willers, he was trying to take care of me, and I don't even remember talking. I was just like this. I'm living like one of those horrible nightmares that you have, and finally he positions the camera by a wall. Jimmy Johnson comes out. Okay, I'm going to do this interview. No one's going to be the wiser. Then he comes out with his wife and daughter, who proceed to stand right behind me. So the whole time, his wife and daughter were probably going, who is this clown with his boxers hanging out of his? So
I can't help but ask this question because it mystifies me that the Hamilton Tiger Cats have not won a Grey Cup since 1999.
I didn't win any Grey Cups. Forget the Hamilton Tiger Cats. What about me? How about being mystified? I played 14 years with the same team, and I didn't win any. But no, it's crazy when you think about a league with only 9 teams, and they haven't won a Grey Cup. My good buddy, and you know him, Joe Mumford, we talk about the last time they won, Joe was on that team, man. They've come close, but close means nothing. It's like saying I'm almost pregnant. It doesn't exist. So those fans are hungry. They're still loyal, but you got to provide something for them. They had some chances a couple of times at home, and they couldn't get it done, but let's hope they get it done soon, because not just for the players, it's for the fans. Those fans who've been waiting, 25 years now? Let's hope they get it done soon, because I don't know how much longer they're going to wait.
Oh, my goodness. Hey, that's your Sportsline podcast for the day. And as you've just seen and heard, we love talking sports. If you do know of an athlete, team, or event to promote the Sportsline podcast, want to hear from you. The first 100, outstanding. Just wait for the next 100. For the wonderful people that make the Sportsline podcast possible, thank you so very much. And we'll see you soon.